My name is Mariama Brooks, and at the family dinner my sister called me the family failure. Her boss just smiled and said, "The backyard in Edmond smelled of barbecue ribs and cheap wine." Balloons floated above the picnic tables red and gold for Dad's birthday. Everyone wore practiced smiles except me. I stood by the grill, arms crossed, watching my sister Skyler, Dad's daughter, with Tina, pull her boss over like she was showing off a prize. She slipped her arm through his and announced to the table, "This is the failure of our family." Laughter followed Tina's shrill giggle, Dad's deep laugh, cousins nodding along. Every gaze turned to me. The clinking of silverware stopped. Even the clinking of glasses stopped. Her boss stayed silent, hands in his pockets studying them. Then he tilted his head, a faint smile forming. "Interesting," he said evenly, "because you're fired." Skyler's grin froze. The yard went still. Have you ever been humiliated by your own family, by someone who was supposed to have your back? Share your story below. I read every single one. I pulled into the driveway of the old house in Edmond, the one Dad had kept all these years. The porch light still flickered and the mailbox leaned the same way. I grabbed the empty boxes from the trunk and stepped inside, the screen door creaking behind me. Mom's things sat stacked in the corner of the guest room, each box labeled in her neat handwriting. I knelt down and started sorting old recipe cards, photo albums, a scarf she wore every winter. That's when I found a small velvet pouch tucked inside a cookbook. Inside was a USB drive, no label, just a tiny silver thing I'd never seen before. I plugged it into my laptop right there on the floor. Files appeared, campaign briefs, mood boards, taglines I'd written 5 years ago for an oil client. My stomach dropped. Every single one had been reused word for word, image for image, but credited to someone else at OKC Channel 9. That someone else was my sister, Skyler Brooks, Dad's daughter, with his second wife, Tina. Tate Brooks, their youngest, was 19 now, away at college most of the time. Growing up, though, it was always Skyler and Tate who got the spotlight. I was the leftover from Mom's first marriage, the one they tolerated but never embraced. Mom, my real mom, Linda, died when I was 17. Breast cancer, fast and brutal. One day she was teaching me how to make her famous cornbread, and the next, she was gone. Dad remarried Tina 6 months later. Tina came with Skyler, who was 11 then, all curls and confidence. Tate arrived 2 years after that. From the start, the rules were different. Skyler got ballet lessons, new clothes every season, a car on her 16th birthday, a red Mustang parked right where I stood now. I got hand-me-downs and a bus pass. Tina packed Skyler's lunches with little notes and heart-shaped sandwiches. Mine, a peanut butter sandwich in a brown bag if I was lucky. Dad Marcus never corrected it. He'd ruffle Skyler's hair and say, "That's my girl," while I washed dishes or mowed the lawn to earn gas money. When I needed braces, Tina said we couldn't afford them. 2 months later, Skyler got Invisalign. I learned early that asking got you silent, so I stopped asking. College was the breaking point. I'd been accepted to the University of Oklahoma on a partial scholarship. Dad sat me down and said the family budget was tight. Tina wanted Skyler in private school, and Tate needed braces now too. My scholarship didn't cover housing, so I had to commute an hour each way on the bus. I did it for 2 semesters, working nights at a diner and sleeping 4 hours a night. Skyler. She got a dorm room, a meal plan, and spending money. Dad bragged about her journalism classes while I carried trays of greasy fries. When I finally dropped out to work full-time, Tina told the neighbors I couldn't handle the pressure. Dad just nodded. I moved out at 20 into a studio above a laundromat. No goodbye party, no help with rent. Skyler texted me, "Guess you're on your own now." Tate was only 8 then, but even she knew the score. She waved from the window as I loaded my duffel bag into a friend's car. Years passed. I built something from nothing. Skyler coasted. Tate watched. Tina cooked separate dinners, steak for her girls, canned soup for me when I visited, which wasn't often. Dad managed the local charity fund, always preaching family values at events, while ignoring the daughter who paid her own way. The USB sat open on the screen, proof in black and white. Every idea I'd poured myself into in that cramped studio, every late night, every skipped meal stolen. And used by the sister who'd been handed everything. I closed the laptop and stared at the pouch in my hand. Mom had kept this. She'd known. The next morning, I called Layla. Layla Reed had been my freshman year roommate, the one who taught me how to stretch $5 for a week. She picked up on the second ring, voice raspy from a late shift. I told her I needed help with something digital but gave no details. She said to come over. Coffee was on. Her apartment sat above a tire shop on the edge of downtown OKC, about 20 minutes from Edmond. I parked behind a stack of retreads and climbed the metal stairs. She opened the door in sweats, hair in a messy bun, and handed me a mug that said, "World's Okayest Designer." We sat at her kitchen table, laptop between us. I slid the USB across. She raised an eyebrow but plugged it in without a word. Files loaded. She scrolled, eyes narrowing, then let out a low whistle. "These are yours?" she said. Not a question. I nodded. "Every single one." She leaned back, arms folded. "You want me to trace the metadata? That's why I'm here." Layla worked fast, pulling timestamps, cross-referencing file paths, matching fonts and hex codes. By the time the coffee went cold, she had built a timeline, 5 years of my work uploaded to OKC Channel 9's server under Skyler's login. The same Skyler who thought I was still waiting tables. I stared at the screen. My first big break had come at 22, freelancing for a small rig outside Norman. The owner paid in cash and a tank of gas. I'd designed a safety campaign that cut accidents by 30%. Word spread. More gigs followed: drilling firms, pipeline startups, refineries. I learned to pitch, negotiate, and close. At 25, I registered Brookline Energy Creative out of a co-working space in Bricktown. 1 desk, 1 chair, 1 dream. I hired my first employee, 6 months later, a junior copywriter who quit after 2 weeks. I didn't blame her. Payroll was late, rent was due, and ramen was dinner. But the work kept coming. I landed a statewide safety contract, then a rebrand for a midstream giant. Revenue hit 6 figures, then 7. I moved the office to a loft near the arena, hired a real team, bought actual furniture. By 30, Brookline pulled in $12 million a year, serving clients from Houston to Denver. I kept it quiet, no social media, no family updates. Dad asked once what I did. I said marketing. He grunted and changed the subject. Tina assumed I scraped by. Skyler bragged about her producer title at the station, never noticing the parent company listed on her paycheck, Brookline Energy Creative. Beckett Lang ran the OKC branch. I'd hired him 3 years earlier after he turned a failing pipeline campaign into a regional award winner, sharp, loyal, no ego. He reported directly to me, handled local hires, approved budgets. Skyler started 6 months ago as a segment producer, entry-level, low stakes, working under my company, without realizing I owned it. Layla closed the laptop. "You built an empire," she said, "and your sister's been pickpocketing it." I rubbed my temples. The numbers didn't lie. Skyler had access because OKC Channel 9 was a Brookline subsidiary. She'd logged in with generic credentials, copied files, stripped metadata, and passed them off as her own. Beckett never caught it. Why would he? She was just another junior staffer. I thought about those late nights in that first office, the 2 a.m. client calls, the pitch decks rebuilt from scratch after crashes. Every win had been mine alone. No family money, no safety net. Just me, a laptop, and a refusal to quit. Layla poured more coffee. What now? I looked out her window at the skyline. Now I decide how this ends. Skyler texted that afternoon. Her message appeared while I stared at the skyline from Layla's window. "Family BBQ this weekend. Bring dessert. Beckett's coming." I read it twice, thumbs hovering over the screen. Dessert. Like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't just been fired in front of everyone. I set the phone down and reopened the USB files. Layla had exported the metadata into a spreadsheet columns of dates, file names, and user IDs. The earliest upload traced back 5 years, right after I'd completed the safety campaign for the Norman rig. The client had loved it and requested prints for every site office. Skyler must have seen the mock-ups when I'd emailed Dad a thank you note with photos attached. Scrolling further, I found a pipeline rebrand I'd pitched to a Houston firm, same color palette, same tagline, now presented as Skyler's original concept in a Channel 9 segment. Another file showed a fracking awareness series I'd created for a nonprofit grant. She'd replaced my stock images with local footage and aired it under her name. Layla leaned over my shoulder. She didn't even change the font kerning, she muttered. Lazy. I pulled up the server logs. Skyler's login appeared nightly, usually after 10 p.m. The same hours she'd claimed to be working late on edits. She'd download my folders, rename them, strip the creation dates, then upload everything to the station's shared drive. Beckett had access to the same system, but never cross-checked credits. Why would he? Producers submitted content all the time. I cross-referenced each campaign with its air date. Every stolen idea had aired within a week of her uploads. Ratings soared. Sponsors renewed. Skyler earned bonuses, promotions, and a corner cubicle with a window. Meanwhile, I'd been invoicing clients directly, building Brookline piece by piece. One file stood out, a 30-second spot for a refinery turnaround. I'd spent 3 weeks crafting it, sourcing B-roll from 3 states, and syncing the voiceover to safety stats. Skyler aired it verbatim, except she'd added a laugh track at the end. The client later called to praise our team's work. I'd thanked them, assuming Beckett had shared credit. I opened the original brief. My signature sat at the bottom, dated. Skyler's version bore a new footer, produced by Skyler Brooks, OKC Channel 9. No mention of Brookline, no mention of me. Layla exported the evidence into a secure folder, encrypted it, and backed it up on 3 drives. This is ironclad, she said. IP theft, plagiarism, breach of contract. She's done. I nodded, though my mind raced ahead. Skyler thought Beckett was her mentor, her way up. She had no idea, he reported to me. No idea the station operated under my umbrella. No idea the ideas she flaunted were mine. I closed the folder. The barbecue invitation still glowed on my phone. Skyler wanted to play happy family to show off her mentor to Dad and Tina. Perfect. I typed back. I'll bring the laptop. The backyard filled up quickly. Dad fired up the grill, smoke curling above the same red and gold balloons from his birthday. Tina arranged trays of coleslaw and cornbread on the picnic tables, wiping her hands on an apron that read, "Kiss the cook." Tate scrolled through her phone legs, swinging from a lawn chair, glancing up now and then to wave at cousins. Skyler floated between guests, laughing too loud, clutching a beer like a stage prop, her curls bouncing with every step. I carried the laptop bag over my shoulder, the dessert I was supposed to bring forgotten in the car. Beckett arrived in a navy blazer, shaking hands with Dad and nodding politely at Tina. Skyler grabbed his arm and steered him toward the center table, her voice cutting through the chatter. "Everyone, this is my boss, Beckett Lang. He's the reason I'm killing it at the station." Dad clapped him on the back. "Hear that? Our girl's a star." Tina beamed. Finally, someone recognizes talent. I set the laptop on the table, flipped it open, and hit play. The screen lit up with side-by-side comparisons, my original briefs on the left, Skyler's aired segments on the right. Fonts matched perfectly. Taglines were identical. Timestamps glowed red, showing upload dates under her login. The noise faded. Forks froze mid-air. A cousin stopped mid-bite, potato salad dangling from his fork. Skyler's smile faltered. "What is this?" Beckett leaned closer, scrolling through the files, his expression hardening with every click. Dad squinted at the screen. Tina's hand flew to her mouth, twisting her apron in silence. I kept my voice steady. 5 years of my campaign stolen and aired under her name. Skyler lunged for the laptop. "Turn it off." That's private. Beckett stepped between us. Private. This is company property. He looked around the table, voice sharp and clear. For the record, I don't run OKC Channel 9. I manage the local branch for Brookline Energy Creative. Tina blinked. Brookline what? Dad frowned. Never heard of it. Beckett turned to me, calm and deliberate. Mariama owns the parent company. I report directly to her. The silence was instant and absolute. Tate dropped her phone, the screen cracking against the patio stones. Dad's tongs clattered on the grill, sending sparks into the air. Tina's tray slipped from her hands, coleslaw splattering across the grass. Skyler spun toward me, face drained of color. You're my boss. I met her gaze. Always have been. Beckett pulled a folder from his blazer-printed logs, highlighted uploads, metadata reports. He handed copies to Dad, Tina, and anyone with a trembling hand reaching for the truth. Intellectual property theft, plagiarism, breach of contract. Effective immediately, Skyler Brooks is terminated. Security will escort you from all Brookline facilities. Skyler's mouth opened, closed. Nothing came out. Her beer slipped from her hand, foam spreading across the tablecloth. Dad finally found his voice. Mariama, you built all this? I nodded once, watching the papers move from hand to hand. A cousin whispered to another, eyes wide. Tate picked up her cracked phone, staring at the shattered screen. Tina looked between the documents and me like she was seeing a stranger in familiar skin. How long? Long enough. Beckett faced Skyler. Pack your desk by Monday. HR will mail your final check minus restitution for the campaigns you misrepresented. Skyler backed away, beer stains darkening her shirt. This is a joke. You can't, I just did. The grill hissed unattended meat blackening on the grates. Balloons swayed in the breeze, brushing the fence. No one moved to help her. Cousins shifted awkwardly, avoiding her eyes. Tate hugged her knees, silent. I closed the laptop, the screen fading to black. Dad cleared his throat, but no words followed. Tina wiped coleslaw from her shoes, cheeks flushed. Skyler stood alone in the center, the party dissolving around her. Beckett pocketed his folder. I'll handle the paperwork. I slung the bag over my shoulder and walked toward the gate. Dad knocked the next evening. I opened the door to find him on the porch. Suit rumpled, tie loosened. He held a thick envelope, its edges still crisp. We need to talk, he said, stepping inside without waiting. I closed the door and leaned against it. He paced the living room, the envelope tapping against his thigh. Skyler's devastated. That misunderstanding at the barbecue. It wasn't a misunderstanding. He stopped facing me. She's family. You can't ruin her over some files. I crossed my arms. She ruined herself. Dad placed the envelope on the coffee table. $250,000. Inheritance from your mother's side. Take it, drop the claims, let Beckett reinstate her. I stared at the envelope. The paper looked heavy even from across the room. You think money fixes theft? It fixes silence. He nudged it closer. Sign a non-disclosure, say the campaigns were collaborative. Everyone walks away clean. I picked it up, feeling the weight of the check inside. Where'd you get this? He hesitated. Savings. Investments. The doorbell rang again. Tate's face appeared on the peephole camera. I let her in. She brushed past Dad, clutching her phone. I have to show you something. Dad's eyes narrowed. Tate, go home. She ignored him, setting the phone on the table. A video call connected, grainy feed from her dorm. On screen, bank statements, charity ledgers, transfer records. Tate's voice shook. I volunteer at the fund Dad manages. Last year, $75,000 went missing. Dad lunged for the phone. Turn that off. Tate swiped away. It went to Skyler's condo down payment. I found the wire marked consulting fee. Same day she closed on the place. I opened the envelope. The check was drawn from the charity's account, not personal funds. Dad's signature at the bottom. He backed toward the door. This is private family business. Tate faced him. Embezzlement isn't private. I held up the check. You stole from kids' scholarships to bail her out. Dad's face reddened. I protected my daughter. Which one? Silence stretched. Tate's phone buzzed, another document loaded. Audit trail. Board notification pending. Dad grabbed his coat. You'll regret this. He slammed the door behind him. Tate sank onto the couch. I didn't know what else to do. I tore the check in half, then into quarters, letting the pieces drift to the floor. Messages flooded in. Skyler's texts came first, dozens of them pleading. Please, Mariama, delete the files. I'm sorry. We can fix this as sisters. Then voicemails followed, her voice cracking. If you don't, I'll tell everyone you're jealous, unstable. You'll lose clients. Brookline will collapse. I read one, then blocked her number. The calls turned into emails, long paragraphs about family loyalty, about how Dad raised us, how I owed them. She attached screenshots of drafted posts. My sister sabotaged my career out of spite. Ha, toxic family. Ha, beware Brookline. Hashtags ready to trend. Dad's letter arrived by mail, a thick envelope with his handwriting on the front. Inside was a plea on charity letterhead: withdraw the claims. Sign the attached waiver. Or we go public, your empire built on lies, your mom's death as an excuse. Clients will flee. You'll be ruined. I skimmed the waiver: non-disclosure, retraction, full release. The threat underlined: refuse, and we expose everything. Your reputation ends. Tate emailed, next subject line: please listen. Skyler's desperate. Dad's scared. Delete the evidence and we'll forget this. I'll visit, we can talk like before. You're still my sister. I forwarded everything to my lawyer, Elena Vargas. She called within the hour. Defamation threats. Emotional manipulation. We'll file a cease and desist today. Elena drafted the letter, formal, on firm stationery. Any further contact posts or statements violating non-disparagement will result in legal action for libel, slander, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Cease immediately. I signed. She sent certified copies to Dad, Tina, Skyler, and Tate. No response required. Skyler's online campaign started anyway, anonymous accounts tagging Brookline clients. Heard the CEO steals ideas. Fraud alert. Likes trickled in, then shares. A few clients emailed questions. I replied with Elena's letter attached. The chatter died overnight. Dad tried once more, a voicemail from a blocked number. You're tearing the family apart. Think of Tate. She looks up to you. I deleted it. Tate showed up at the office lobby, eyes red. Security called me down. She held a coffee cup, voice small. Can we talk? Just us? I shook my head. No more talks. She left the coffee on the counter. I blocked her too. Then the house in Edmond appeared on real estate listings, Dad's name still on the deed, Tina's car in the driveway photos. I packed my apartment, donated furniture, hired movers. The Denver office waited, new branch, clean start. Dad's final letter arrived, forwarded, probation terms enclosed. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I fed it to the shredder, then the fireplace. Flames curled the paper to ash. Skyler's last email. You win. I'm nothing now. I marked it as spam. Tate's text from a new number: I miss you. Deleted. The truck pulled away at dawn. Edmond faded in the rearview, suburbs, oil rigs, the family home. The Denver skyline rose ahead, mountains sharp against the sky. I changed my number. Updated company contacts. No more Brooks in my inbox, clients pulled back. A few canceled contracts citing reputational risk. Most remained after Elena's letter circulated. Revenue dipped 5% before stabilizing. Brookline endured. Skyler's name disappeared from industry directories, blacklisted. No station would consider her resume. IP theft flagged every background check. She applied for retail work, cafes, anything. Rejections stacked up. Her condo went into foreclosure and she moved into a studio near the highway, neighbors unaware of her past. Dad faced the board. The audit confirmed the missing $75,000. Embezzlement charges followed. He accepted a plea deal, 3 years probation restitution, and community service at the very fund he'd stolen from. He wore an ankle monitor on grocery runs. Charity events banned him for life. Tina filed for separation, citing irreconcilable differences. She kept the house and sold the Mustang. Dad rented a bare 1-bedroom downtown. Tate transferred schools and stayed away from home. From Denver, I watched it all unfold. The new office overlooked Union Station trains rumbling below. The team expanded to 15. Contracts grew, renewables, tech integrations. 12 million became 15. Skyler's final LinkedIn post read, "Open to opportunities. No connections accepted." Dad's probation officer checked in monthly, no violations. He volunteered quietly at food banks. Tina sold their furniture on Marketplace. Photos showed empty rooms. One evening, I stood on the rooftop, city lights flickering. No more messages, no more threats. Only peace. Cutting ties wasn't revenge, it was release. Skyler learned that actions echo. Dad learned that privilege has limits. Tina learned that loyalty shouldn't be blind. For anyone watching, family isn't an obligation. Protect your work, your peace, your future. Blood doesn't excuse betrayal. Walk away when you must. Rebuild stronger. Cutting ties is freedom. That's the truth I live now. And it's enough.